Morning everybody, Mike Hardy here. I have been asked to make a video showing how to change tire on a KLR. I'm going to do the front tire first. I'm going to use only the tools that I would carry with me on the trail. A pair of pliers, 6mm Allen. I don't want to dig my quick jack out because it's all packed away, so I'm going to use this stick, but on the trail I would use a quick jack. I have some Murphy's oil soap, which I use for tire lube. Works great. And I have my wrenches. I have a 17 and a 21. And as you can see, these used to be combination wrenches, but I've cut the box ends off. Now, they are tire spoons. I've ground the ends. I don't know if you can see those up close, but I've ground the ends to make a tire spoon. These cost me about 50 cents a piece. And I actually have 3 of them, so I can loosen all the nuts and tighten all the nuts on the axles with these. Okay, well, first thing I want to do is I want to get the tire loose, get everything loose before I jack it up in the air. So we're going to take our 21, we're going to take our 17, our 6mm, and our pliers. Here we go. This is my 06 KLR. Got about 75,000 miles on it. I have done just about anything and everything to it you can imagine. First thing we're going to do, use our pliers to take loose the speedometer cable. Just going to unscrew it, pull it out of the housing, and we're just going to let it hang. Next, we're going to break loose the caliper using our 6mm. There are 2 bolts on the side of the caliper. Pop them loose. Going to remove the bolts. One thing that I've been told is bad is to let the caliper hang by the hose. So I'm going to use this bungee cord here, and I'm going to hold it up. Now before I remove this, it's still kind of tight on the rotor. So I'm going to push on it, and I'm going to squeeze that piston in just a little bit. So when I go to put it back on, I don't have to fight with it. Okay, there it is. I'm going to hang it up. There, out of the way. I'm going to pull out our R pin or hitch pin. Use our 21 on this side. Use our 17 on this side. And we're going to break it loose. Okay, now it's loose, so when we jack it up off the ground, we don't have to use a lot of force and wiggle the bike around. Quick jacks are nice, very simple. Push on the bike, a little bit of a backward angle, put it up on the kickstand. Prop that bad boy under it. Give it a wiggle, make sure everything's secure. Looking good. Pull off the nut. Pull out the axle. Easy peasy. Now, you'll notice there's a spacer on this side. I'm going to go ahead and pull that spacer out so it doesn't fall out and get in my way. There's the speedometer hub on this side, which I'm just going to go ahead and pull off. I'm going to take a rag and wipe up a little bit of the grease so it doesn't get all over my bench. If I were on the trail, I would actually lay a rag down on the dirt, grass, rock, whatever I'm sitting on. I would, lay a rag down just to keep dirt from getting in here. And I'm going to pull out the washer. There's a washer with ears on it. If you can see that, it has ears on it. And that's what actually turns the hub inside. It locks into the wheel, turns the hub, turns the gear, turns the cable. I'm going to take it out so it doesn't fall out on the table and get in my way. Yes, I use old underwear as rags. Thrifty. KLR. Okay, I'm going to flip it over to this side so the rotor's up. I don't want to put a lot of pressure on the rotor. I don't want to bend it, tweak it, rub it in the dirt, whatever. I try to protect the rotor. Now my valve cap that I use is actually a valve stem tool. This one happens to be brass, but as you can see, it's made for pulling valve cores out. I'm going to pull the nut off the stem, and I'm going to pull the valve stem out. There we go. Now, front tires, it's easy to break the bead on. Front tires are much easier than rear tires in all aspects. I can just break this loose with my hands. I don't need any tools for it. I'm going to get both sides. Tire I'm working with is a Michelin T63, my favorite all-around tire. Does well on the dirt, does well on the road. I'm about halfway through its life, and you can see, maybe you can see, our knobs are getting kind of angled. Well, if I flip this tire on the rim, it's going to angle the other direction. That means when I brake, it's going to be wearing off the other side of the knob. And when I ride in the dirt, it's going to have a bigger knob to grip the dirt better. So, halfway through its life, I like to flip them. Alright, bead's broken, everything's nice and loose. Now let's pick a spot. I don't like to start on the valve stem because it just sort of gets in the way. Put the valve stem over here on the bottom, and I'm going to start away from me. I'm going to put my tool in here, give it a little pressure. Whoa. Make sure the opposing rim or bead is down in the rim, down in the dish, which will give me enough slack that I can pull this over the edge of the rim. I'm going to use two. And I'm just going to work them a little. Till that's up and over. And I push one under the rotor. That'll hold it in place. I'm going to go over here, I'm going to take another little bite. Be gentle. Make sure we're down in the dish. Pull it up over. We're going to go take another bite. Oops. Come on, don't be that way. There we go. Just going to walk my way around. Check every so often, make sure we're down in the dish. Now, we'll walk around the other way. Sometimes it wants to fight with me. I'm not a pro. Do this for myself, by myself, on my own time. So I'm not as fast as some people out there. I don't have all the answers, but I have my own methods. And they have worked well for me. side's off. I'm gonna flip it and pull the other side off. So the tire is around both sides of the rim. Let's use the big one. Some people use rim protectors. They don't want to scratch up their pretty rims. I've got old beat up rims. I don't care what it looks like. So I just have at it. Okay, we're loose on both sides. Okay, I'm gonna stand it up. Take this tire, or this wheel, I'm gonna push it down on the tire. I'm gonna reach up, make sure I got the tube. I'm just gonna pull it over sideways. Pull that wheel out. Okay. Came out like this. I'm gonna flip it like this. Reverse direction. And we put on a new glove. Now, there are various methods to doing this. What I like to do is at least run a rag around the inside of this, inside of the bead here, make sure it's clean. I don't know, especially if I'm working in the dirt. Just make sure it's clean. Make sure my rim strip hole lined up with the hole in the wheel. I almost forgot the important part. The important part is have a little bit of air in this tube. I'm going to go ahead and pull the tube out. You want just a little bit of air in this tube and we'll keep you from getting a pinch flat. I put my valve core back in. Going to give it just a little air. Okay, just a little. Now, you don't want too much air. You don't want it to be a hindrance when you're trying to put your wheel tire back together. So, see, this is too much air. It's right here. It's too tight. I'm gonna let a little bit of air out of it until I can just crease this tube. There. Just makes a little crease right there. And that's all the air I want in it. Just enough to help it hold its shape against the rim so it doesn't get caught in there and get pinched. Yeah, about like that. There. Perfect. This crease goes up about a third of the way through. Now, there should be a dot on here, but there isn't. There's not one that I can find for balancing purposes. But I have never had a problem with balancing T63s. I don't really balance them, and I don't have a problem. So, I'm going to stick it back in the tire. Okay, all ready to go. What you want is to have the valve stem by the dot. Again. Now this is where I differ from some people. This is my own method. It works for me. What I do, make sure your little curved washer thing's on the inside. What I do is I pull out the tube just a bit. I put it through the rim. I put a nut on it. Some people wait till they get half the tire mounted. Then they reach up inside of the tire, try to get that valve stem in. It's a pain. I just barely put it on, put that nut on. Push the tube back in place. Again, easy peasy. There we go. Now I flip it. Now, I said before, I use Murphy's oil soap. Front tires are pretty easy, but I'm going to use it just to make it extra easy. Put a little bit of it on a rag. I'm going to swab it around both sides of this bead. Inside and outside. On both sides of the tire. Probably use just a little more. I like it easy. Who doesn't like it easy? Okay. Just going to walk this tire on. We're going to be mindful of our tube. Even though we put some air in it so it's harder to pinch, still have to be mindful. Just going to push it on. Push it on, make sure we're seated in here, up into the dish. You're not helping. There we go. Into the dish. And bottom side bead completely on. Make sure everything's lined up right. Now I don't like to start on the valve stem because the valve stem has thick rubber around it. And it just makes it hard to get that bead to seat in. So I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees to my left. Let's start on this side. After a little more lube, we're going to juice it up good. Make sure the valve stem isn't sticking out at a weird angle in your rim. You want it nice and centered. Now, I got one of these. This works great for holding down tire iron. If you don't have one, I can't say I recommend it, but it is handy. Down in. Now I find that if I just walk all the way around one side, it shifts the tire on the rim. And then your tube's sticking out at a weird angle. Your stem's sticking out at a weird angle. So I do a little bit of back and forth. A little bit on this side. Keep watching that stem, make sure it doesn't shift around. See it change an angle, go to the other side. Sometimes you're going to have to use a tire iron to hold this down so it doesn't pop out as this side goes in. Okay. Almost there. She's on. Valve stem sticking out nice and straight. I'm going to screw this nut in to pull that valve stem out a little farther so I can put air in it. Let's see, I believe it's a 12 millimeter. Just going to screw this nut on, pull that valve stem out a little bit. Sounds good. Now I'm going to cheat. I'm going to use my air compressor. On the trail, I would have a small air compressor. I got a little slime pump. I've also got a little hand pump, a little bicycle pump for backup. A little bit of air, make sure everything's going good. Now this bead is seated all the way around. You can see the line. Maybe you can see the line. There's a small line on that tire. And it's right near the bead. And it's even all the way around, so you know your bead is set. On this side, it's not quite set. Gonna need a little more air. Let me grab my air pressure gauge. Again, made by Slime, a little digital guy, easy to carry. Yeah, right now we're only sitting at 14 pounds. Okay, our bead popped on. It's set all the way around. No more. One more time. Well, the gauge isn't working too good this morning. I think the batteries are low. Yep, the batteries are shot. Well, good thing I always carry a spare. Well, that's disconcerting. Well, I usually carry a spare. I think I left it in the Suburban. Anyway, once I get the tire on, before I go for a ride, I'm going to check it. Right now it's pretty firm. I'm going to guess we're up around 35 pounds, 40 pounds. But it's good enough to ride out on. If you don't have an air pressure gauge, you know, go by feel. Got just a touch of give to it, it's good. Gonna put my valve cap back on. There's different schools of thought here too. Some people want this nut tight up against the rim. Myself, I unscrew it to where it's tight against the cap. A, keeps the cap from falling off, not that I've had a problem with that. But B, because if you get a flat tire, and you hit these brakes, this tire, of course, can shift on the rim. Now, if it's a small puncture, easily fixed, you're gonna be able to fix it with a patch. But if this slips on the rim, let's say it moves that far, it can actually rip the valve stem out of your tube, and then that tube is no longer usable. So, by screwing the nut out a ways, it lets that stem actually move a little bit. It lets that tube move a little bit. Hopefully keep you from ripping out your valve stem. Okay, she's ready to go. It's all good. I'm going to put my spacers back in. One on this side. The one on this side, well, the speedo hub on this side. Make sure these ears line up. Of course, these ears will drop into here only one way. They'll drop into here only one way, but you have to have them lined up. Get that lined up. Make note of the angles. Flip it over. She dropped right in. As you turn it, if you look in the hole, you could actually see the gear turning in there. That's what you want. You know it's seated. It's on there right. All right, let's put it back on. Stay. Need my 17. Need my 21. Need my axle. I get the axle started, just leave it hanging there. I tie her up into place. Make sure my speedo's got a set of notches here. We got a notch here. This notch has to go into those notches. Get it into place. Sometimes they tweak a little. There, axle's back in. Put the nuts back on. Nut back on. I'm not going to reef on it right now because it's up on the jack. Going to screw my cable back in for my speedometer. And get it started, give it a little bit of a spin so that cable meshes in there like it's supposed to. Take my pliers, tighten it down just good and snug. Put my caliper back on. Here's my tool. My bolts. Make sure the pads are separated. Slide them back over the rotor. 2 bolts go back in. Or at least they should. Got one started. Go ahead and start the second one. Run them down. Whoa. Yeah, see, that's why you wait to torque things down until you get it off the jack. Push back on the bike. Take that out. It's back on the ground. Tighten these down good. Holding 17 on this side, 21 on this side. Good and tight. Make sure it lines up with a hole. There are holes in the axle. Put your pin back through. I don't like my pin just flopping around in a loose hole. Get in there. Now it flops around. So I will actually give it just another tweak. Not enough to shear that pin, just enough to keep it from flopping.